Welcome back. And we are back again. Thank you for being with us. Just before we go into the next segment, I'll just like to remind people that shortly after this half an hour segment, we will have a quick 5-minute break over and we'll have Laura Wynett back in order to have the networking think tank section. We tried to have this morning, but there weren't enough people online. So we'll try to do that again right after this. But for now, we have a half an hour slot where we're going to have a talk, which is namely, here in Berlin, a lot of people think like this is the ideal, like the vision that they have in their mind when they think of electronic music. For many, it's maybe a little harder to imagine a place like Detroit in the 80s as being the birthplace of this electronic music. And today we have a special treat because we're actually going to be speaking with someone who's been making electronic music since that time in the 80s in Detroit. And that is none other than Stacey Hotwaxx. Now, I will not be moderating this part of the segment. For that, we're gonna give the honor over to Crystal Mioner, or is it Mioner? Mioner? So, Mina? Oh yeah, I knew it was one of the other. Yeah, so Crystal here, of course, is also from Detroit and knows the scene intimately very well. And I think it's also very appropriate and apt in order to get also the perspective from a Black woman as well, in terms of is to also speak with another Black woman who is actually from the same place and can really get down into what makes this music that this city, Berlin, loves so much. So without further ado, Crystal, the floor is yours.
Great, thank you so much. Hi, Stacey. I hope you're having a good day. I do want to make one quick caveat to what our host was saying. I'm originally from Northern Michigan. I'm a guest in Detroit, and I'm so honored to be here in Detroit and to be learning from all of the folks I meet here, but I'm not a Detroit native, and I think that's an important distinction, even if folks are across the pond and don't quite get the semantics of how the Midwest works. But yeah, I'm super excited to be in conversation with you, Stacey. And I think I just wanted us to be able to start off and talk about a little bit more with your roots in music making and kind of what your early experience was, and then kind of where you see things going now. So you started off at a club here in Detroit. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that?
What's it? Club Exclusive, Club Hollywood. When I started, when I guess I had my first main gig.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, and I had the honor to play for an audience of 800 um, women, and it was very cutting edge and progressive. And um, it's one song that stands out in my mind that I can remember one turn around, look at me, and say, "She lost her mind," because it was so unusual. And that was the Anita Ward song, "Ring My Bell," because that was
Oh,
so unusual. It's like, what? You have to remember that was, in the disco era, kind of was such a different sound but I was willing to play it, and I had a little bell, and I'd run out on the dance floor and sing it around. They would just look at me and laugh and stuff, and then 40 years later,
yeah. Yep, look
it's,
at
it's, it's
you.
still a staple,
Yeah.
or just. So in doing that, uh, it gave me hope. It allowed me to expand. That's where I was discovered by Duncan Sound and some of the DJs that came there and saw how progressive I was, and then invited me to try to join this organization. And this particular organization um, had a group of 12 DJs.
Mm-hmm.
And this is before the whole world became a DJ, this.
Mm-hmm.
So what he did is he built sound systems and rented them out to clubs, and then he would rent the DJs out to the clubs, and we were the DJs that would go on, and we would rotate. That's
Mm-hmm.
how it does. So it's like 12 hot um, clubs in various times of week. Different things would be happening. So like Lafayette Orleans, hot day was Tuesdays after
Mm-hmm.
work, and Fridays was a hot day. For Saturday and Sundays, well, Friday, Saturday, Sunday were automatic, like big days. But
Yeah.
we would rotate around, and that's what we would do, and
Yeah.
that's what I did. That's where I met Mojo. the
Oh,
historical mojo. One day he helped me carry my records into Lafayette, Orleans. One day I was hauling the record. He stopped and said, "Can I help you?" And I'm like, "Sure." And he stayed at my side that entire night. He didn't tell me who he was, and it's a good thing he didn't because I'd have freaked out.
yeah,
Yeah, and we're still friends today. The electrifying mojo.
yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
Um, were you helping? And this is Mark Duncan, right, from Duncan Sounds.
No,
Diff-
um, no, his name was Edward. His
okay.
name was Edward Duncan, and yes, you know Mark Duncan for the day and sound, but no, his name was Edward Duncan.
Uh huh.
And I think they're cousins, distant cousins, but that's there's a big age difference. But yeah,
Were
that
you
was
learning a lot about kind of how to use sound, working with that? And is that maybe um, did that have any influence in your DJing?
well, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that was such a delicate time. The turntables, as we know, as 1200s, where they used to
Mm-hmm.
have slides. Well, he had the state of the art equipment, and they were turns. You'd have to turn it to adjust the speed. I don't know if you could
Oh,
imagine that. They were still that solid, hard turntable that we all know today.
yeah.
But the original 1200s that I'm aware of, in order
Mm-hmm.
to adjust the speed, you had to turn these
Rather than the pitch,
rather than the pitch. That is right.
cool.
Yeah, you had to turn it. That's yeah. I need to find a picture of that and kind of look at it, and also he was a carpenter, and
Mm-hmm.
so the mixer would be and he would build it in a stack, so it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't this layout um, horizontal as you used to seeing performances.
Mm-hmm.
We were vertical, and so the mixer would be at the top, and then a turntable, and then a turntable.
Oh, okay. That's weird. What do you think is the
I
advantage of that?
what say that again, please.
What's the advantage of that, or was it just what there was space
Well,
for?
I don't know. That's just how he designed the system. He was just into, and it was mobile, so it was easy for him to, as again I said, he rented systems out
Mm-hmm.
to clubs, and he had carpet on it, so it was easy for him to close that up and roll it out and go versus the black coffin that we know today.
Mm-hmm.
I have a picture of me standing at one of those consoles somewhere.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we'll need to see it. But I'm
Okay.
thinking about, when did you start doing music production? Like, how long after you were DJing did that become a thing, or was it some time in between?
The music production was coming in. Kind of what I chose to do was to play instruments with the records and stuff that I was
Mm-hmm.
playing. And
Yep.
that's kind of how that got started. And so my first piece of equipment was a Yamaha 100.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a keyboard and was getting introduced to MIDI and bringing in different sounds and instruments and stuff like that. So
Mm-hmm.
um, my first record was with the Housekeepers. How You Play the Game
Mm-hmm.
was one of my first production pieces. And then Um, Kahan and I worked on several pieces and put some songs out. Kick Children is one of them,
Kick
and
children?
yeah,
Okay.
and then it's this, and then there's another song, Jezebel.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was listening to it the other day. I'm like, oh my god, it was so sensuous. I'm like, you, because like back to remembering this stuff. Then I had a
Yeah.
chance to do some mixes with Eddie Folks,
Mm-hmm.
um, and, and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
that was, like in the early days and in production and doing that and discovering drum machines and all that noise and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so most as Detroit was more techno driven when it come to electronics and I'm
Yeah.
more of a house person.
Yeah. What was that like? Because I feel like that's like the Detroit has produced so many wonderful like house DJs, but I feel like
Mhm.
they kind of aren't given as much shine as the techno artists, and
You're
it's just
exactly right. And it's some wonderful house done. I mean, and it is. And I guess it's just a nature of time, place, and where they put. So if you weren't
yeah.
like techno do 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 do, you didn't get the. I mean, it just kind of took over. It was new, it was fresh, and people loved it. So it's not like house wasn't there because we were there.
Yeah.
And I spent many times and days and years in Chicago where they were being known for that. And
Hmm.
that was kind of my flavor more. I was a little more soulful, a little bit more house, but And but I was not the only one that was like that. It just didn't get the um, I don't want to say recognition.
Mm-hmm.
It just because the techno was so dominant
Yeah.
that that wasn't looked at. And you look at Detroit, you think techno, you think Motown,
Yeah.
and maybe jazz.
Yeah.
You don't think of Detroit as house,
Yeah.
but we are.
Yeah. And I was like, I think the best house parties I've been to have been in Detroit. I remember actually, I think it was Geometry last year. I can't remember if it was you closing out or who it was closing out, but I just got to witness so many like folks just like voguing and dancing and it
Uh
like,
huh.
just kind of what was created there versus what I experienced at kind of like a techno, which is it's
Mm-hmm.
just colder. It's not as yeah, it doesn't feel as warm.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Ironically, to me, techno has taken a turn, and they've added some soul and some funk to it. It's still techno,
Mhm.
um, but having that go with it seems to uh, attracts me. I've
Mhm.
always liked hard house. I like house in many different arenas, and so even like the hard house. So I don't mind hitting it hard,
Yeah.
but many times I like for somebody to say something to me or tell a story, say something.
Yeah.
Say,
Exactly. To me, it always comes down to like there's this really great track from I think Indie ATL, and it's just whenever I listen to it, like I think the vocals are very simple, but um, it it inspires me in a way that like I think a non-vocal track wouldn't be able to do because
mm-hmm.
it's just hearing it and like kind of having that like repetition in the hearing it that I think has like a really powerful impact. Um,
Yeah, yeah. It's funny you'd say that. Yeah, and it depends on what time of night it is and the mood that you're in and how many cocktails you had too. Well, some seem to. That's back to programming, which to me, I don't mean to go on a tangent, but just is kind of a lost art. Um,
mhm,
it's important to me, no matter who the DJ is and how old or young or middle, whatever, is to tell a story.
mhm,
If you're really um, about your music and you choose to entertain people, you take a look at your audience.
mhm.
And even if it's a virtual audience, still, whatever you lay down and you play, tell a story.
Yeah,
Take the people on a journey.
yeah,
That's priceless. And I think 10% of the 1 million DJs know how to do that.
yeah. I know.
They
I feel like people come with their own like agenda and like play, but it's just like how do you work in communication with the
mm-hmm,
audience?
mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you're DJing, you're producing, but you also do, I think, any number of other things. So maybe we can talk a little bit more about, I think, firstly, the music conference that you and John Collins put together, and then kind of some of the other things you've done, and if those things have all been kind of
Mm-hmm.
rooted in like your love for DJing.
Absolutely right. I okay. So in coming in full circle and making or and playing music at clubs, I entered a contest at WJLB
Mm-hmm.
and with 600 contestants, and I took first place. Um, it was all a process, but it was at the Fox Theater, um, the famous Fox Theater downtown,
Mm-hmm.
and I won the contest. And in doing that, I got some of the judges were out of New York and worked for major record labels,
Mm-hmm.
and so I took note of that and I became a Billboard reporter.
Mm-hmm.
So this, you had
Oh,
to.
nice.
I was a Billboard reporter for 5 years. You have
Mm-hmm.
to, fit a certain criteria and all that. And so that's how I got national attention.
Mm-hmm.
And they fly me around and do a do a lot of things. And I forgot the question we just said. I said all this to say something because you asked it, and this is why I had to tell that part of it to get to whatever I was getting ready to answer.
Just how
Well,
DJing has
oh,
influenced.
how? Oh no, regional conference. Gotcha. Okay, and that's over. So one of the things that Billboard would do is fly the Billboard reporters into Miami for the Winter
Mm-hmm.
Music Conference.
Gotcha.
You ever been there to the Winter Music Conference? Or you know about it? Or?
I know about it, but I've never been.
Well,
But
that
it's
was, yeah,
event, yeah,
the merge. First of all, you're in Miami, so that's already you're turned up.
yeah.
And the merge of the world of dance music coming there.
Mm-hmm.
And for me to know so many people that promoted the music, that made the music, the record labels, it was, major. I mean, Sony, CBS, um, I'm gonna say Uptown, but that's MCA. A,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of those Mercury, just Polygor. Just I used to know all the labels, and because they
Mm-hmm.
would promote. Anyway, they're all there, and they would do an award show to who did the best of during the year over various categories: best DJ, best mix, best independent promoter, best independent label, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So and would teach you about the music business, and so it was really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
And and something else that happened there that'll always stay with me. Again, you have to remember this is between 85 and 95. I can't remember the
Mm-hmm.
exact time. And this DJ that won the award for the best DJ at the time, he went up to the mic and, yeah, and I don't play house music because this was like taboo.
Yeah,
Like, oh, the anti.
yeah,
Well, it was a bunch of people like me, including guys who are in the audience. We started throwing stuff at him, like, say, I dare you. Talk about what you don't play house music. What,
yeah,
although he would play, that just wasn't recognizable. That
yeah,
was like called gay music, or it put it in a category that didn't you know this wasn't cool.
yeah,
Although he was easily playing CC Music Factory, which was straight up dance
yeah,
slash house music. Black boxes, straight up
yeah,
mainstream house music. But no, I don't play. And he could have just kept that statement. He could have just said, "Thank you very much, got my award and go." But for him to say, "And I don't play house music," we were like, "What?"
yeah,
And you're at a dance conference?
yeah.
You're at a dance conference, and they like we were at a hip hop conference.
Do you feel like that was like well, I mean, I guess like to like be straight about it, like do you feel like there's been stigma around like house music because of its roots in like queer and gay culture?
Um, a little bit of that,
Mm-hmm.
but the truth is, it came out of the church. Which I
Oh,
know was a lot of gay people there as well. But the truth of it,
yeah,
if you listen to the rhythms of the piano and stuff, it came straight out of the church.
yeah.
So, and just because the gays may have embraced it more or first because we
Mm-hmm.
weren't being mainstream to the things that were typically played on the radio.
Mm-hmm.
I think, which anyway, that particular conference inspired me
Mm-hmm.
to have my own conference here in the Detroit area. And
Mm-hmm.
since I was friends and acquainted with Kevin, Derek, Juan, D-Win,
Mm-hmm.
all of it, I was deeply engaged with everyone that was doing music here in the Detroit area.
Mm-hmm.
Um, John Collins and I, we got together and we formed a corporation,
Mm-hmm.
um, DrMC, which stands for Detroit Regional Music Conference.
Mm-hmm.
And had radio and everything involved. When we were rolling, I wanted to bring all of these things that we were getting in Miami. I wanted to bring it to Detroit because we were so rich in music
Yeah,
and everything that this should happen here. And so that's what I did for 5 years.
yeah.
But that was the inspiration. So I had a magazine, a record label, the conference. I had 5 parties going in one night. Oh my God, it wore me out. But
Yeah,
but I did it. So yes, it's on Resident Advisor. You can see some of the documentation. I'm glad I kept all the books and
yeah,
um, just everything to tell the history of that. Yeah.
yeah. And I feel like one of your biggest talents is your ability to kind of like pivot and adapt with the changing times. Like
Oh.
right now, you're also working with, you're doing like kind of like tech management for a lot of streams and things. And I feel like a lot of folks, like a lot of people have like really like resisted streaming. Do you know what I mean? And I was talking to someone who had a radio show on the internet back in like 2006, and they were like, no one would want to come and play on the show. But it's like, if you look at it now, that's just literally how it's done. So it's just, do you feel like your ability to like adapt to technology is maybe something that has proven beneficial to you?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I've been a geek since I was 12.
Yeah.
So I was my brother my brothers had like walls of components
Yeah.
with records and reel to reels and cassettes and all that, and that always fascinated me. I
Hmm.
didn't know what direction I was going to take that in, and I ended up being a DJ. The minute I saw two turntables and a mixer, I said, "Oh, that's what I'm gonna do." And
Yeah.
though it's long before it got to for me becoming a professional, but I set in my mind to do that.
Yeah.
And I am an electrical engineer. It's my background. I'm
Hmm.
from Lawrence Tech, so I've been a geek for a minute, and
Yeah.
so that's why, with the changing times and the technology, I think this is why I gravitate toward it.
Hmm.
Um, I don't. None of us like change. I'm no different.
Yeah.
I'll share with you one of the biggest changes, or kind of two of the biggest changes that I had in a music career as far as playing a DJ,
Hmm.
and how I was. No, this is not possible. So, in my job, I've been playing records forever, right?
Hmm.
And so, CDs came out, and I'm like,
Hmm.
I'm not. No, just no. I
Hmm.
mean, I rebelled, and even as a Billboard reporter, they would send me CDs. I'd take them and stack them up over on the side.
Yeah.
No, mind you, the CD players weren't like they are now, where you can play them.
Yeah.
They weren't, where you could, and so all you could really do is put the CD in and push a button. Well, I couldn't have control of that, and so that's why I was the anti-CD person.
Okay.
And one day I received I still have it. Oh, where is here? A CD from Polydor Records,
Hmm.
and it did a compilation, and it had Kool and the Gang on there, George Clinton, an assortment of artists. They weren't all the same artists, and they were all on one CD. And I'm like, oh my God, to have all these songs on one CD, a light bulb went off. Like,
Hmm.
so you don't have to have the same song on the CD or just that album on the CD. You could do an
Yeah.
assortment of songs. And that's when my light bulb went off. I'm like, okay, yeah, I can do this. Or because
Okay.
now I have 10 of my records on one CD.
Yeah.
And at least I can have the song, so I can put it in whatever little piece of crap to give you to play on it, and at least play it. But now I knocked out carrying X amount of albums
Yeah.
or something like that. So then um, Melvin Hill and myself, we decided to have an anniversary party over at the Woodward. It was
Hmm.
his birthday party, and I played, and the place was small, and the system was mighty,
Hmm.
and we had no choice but to play CDs because the record would just fly up off the thing. And
Yeah.
so both of us went in there. We had CD players, and neither one of us knew how to play CDs.
Yeah.
But we had to do a quick learn. We knew, so that yeah, that's how I learned how to play on a CD player. It's like,
Yeah.
and so my friend Felton put 300 songs on a CD MP3s. This is the beginning of MP3s. I'm going like,
Yeah.
what? How could I possibly know what these songs are? First of all, and you couldn't read them. It's just so I had this big piece of paper with all the list of the song.
Yeah.
Nightmare, but we managed to get that together, and we did that. So, um, I finally okay, I can you know play CDs,
Yeah. Well,
and then and then here comes Serato.
yeah.
Oh no, I'm not playing on no computer. Mind you, I built a computer, but I'm not putting my music on no computer and doing like. I mean, I rebelled. I really did.
Yeah.
And my good friend owns Mix, Angela Vincent or Linda Carter, you may know her as,
Hmm.
and Jenny LaFemme, both female DJs here in the Detroit area.
Hmm.
They stole my CDs and gave me the computer and threw me out there. I had no choice but to. And I wasn't afraid to play on the computer. I was just afraid the computer was going to crash, and I just wasn't comfortable like that.
Yeah.
But that was a dramatic, like
Yeah.
speakers.
Well, you may have been onto something because this is the first year I think in a maybe a decade that vinyl has outsold CDs once again. So it's
Uh-huh.
like, you know what I mean? It proved itself to be somewhat of a temporary medium because it just like kind of like spanned the transition into fully digital. I mean, I still like CDs. I like picked up like a bunch from an estate sale recently, but they are, yeah, I understand what you mean. You can't see
Uh-huh.
see a vinyl and you can't.
Exactly. Nothing is going to take a place of that vinyl. I still like vinyl.
Yep.
I'm going to always like vinyl. I just not carrying it anymore. Mm.
Yep.
I've carried as many as 9 crates. At 9 crates. Can you imagine 9 crates of records?
Yeah,
Because
my
I was,
and
because I did a picnic, the Metro picnic. I would do the
mhm.
Metro picnic every year, and it started 12
Yep.
and ended at 9 at night, and
Yep.
I was the DJ for all those hours.
Yep.
And
Wow.
so I couldn't be repeating. I mean, sooner tell
Yeah.
the story. Did I have time to tell the story?
You had time to write a book. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Amazing. So I think we're about to conclude this session in just a couple of minutes. So I think I wanted to talk to you a little bit more about, you know, your position as like kind of like a pioneer and like the first woman doing a lot of things. What role do you feel like? I just read an article about like the title of first and how like sometimes the word that is more so to do with um, not so the talent of, okay, maybe specifically in this like situation, um there I think have always been talented like female DJs, but it's kind of to be able to break through onto a really male dominated scene. Do you feel, and even I think in 2020, you know, so this is almost 40 years, maybe like at least
Mhm.
30 years since you started. What advice would you have for women who are trying to kind of like break into the scene and to um you know, because it's, I think there'll always be a, you can always, anybody can DJ, anyone can DJ in their room, but it's like I think to make that transition to be able to like play out and to kind of really own your own things. Do you have any advice?
At this time, it's such a different world right now.
Yeah.
Um, the competition is through the roof.
Yeah.
Everyone is a DJ. The fact that you can put your entire playlist on here,
Yeah.
and then you can stick it into something, and you can just tell it beat match sync and go with that.
Yeah.
Um, gives you the ability. So other things play into it besides talent,
Mhm.
because excuse me, um, I really have some cats. It's like I'm like, okay, I heard something go crash. Now I hear something going boom. I'm like, all righty. It's like um, it's so many different directions
Mhm.
with the change and with the music business, and you have to first of all take a look at the spectrum all the way across the board. Is what I would advise.
Mhm.
Become your own leader.
Mhm.
Um, don't wait for someone to come get you.
Mhm.
Don't um, do things that'll make you get ahead, meaning, special favors for
Mhm.
certain individuals. And so just so you can get in whatever. So create your own destiny. If
Mhm.
you're passionate about your music and you really believe in what you're doing,
Mhm.
produce your music, play your music, create your own events,
Mhm.
kind of. In doing that, you'll get the attention of the masses or something bigger or whatever that is, and they may seek you out. If so, y- it depends on your goals. So if your goal is to be a whatever kind of DJ you want to be, if
Mhm.
you want to be a festival DJ, you want to be a wedding DJ, you want to be
Mhm.
a club DJ, because all those are different and all of them can pay you very well. So
Mhm.
first you have to decide that. um,
Mm-hmm.
what you choose to do, and then follow that path.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if you're passionate with um, the type of music that you like, you make sure you kind of create yourself in that environment best that you
Mm-hmm.
can. And I want to say something. Once I find, um, I listen to everyone. I love hearing new ideas. I'm not brainwashed to think it's this way and no other way.
Mm-hmm.
But what I've noticed um, with some of the young cats, and it used to drive me crazy, but I figured out why it did. They'd be all over the road playing the music.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, all of a sudden, this and that, and this and that. And what it wasn't they were all over the road, it's that they didn't know how to program it correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I've heard a couple of DJs were just god awful. So I don't care if you go hip hop, techno, reggae, house, R&B, funk, you can
Mm-hmm.
do all of that in a set, but be able to do it right.
Mm-hmm.
Be able to tell a story, make it make sense,
Mm-hmm.
and that'll work. So the first time I experienced that, because they just playing it and it was just god awful,
Mm-hmm.
then it turned around and make it like, why are you doing it like that? So everything is not about a mix, like everything has to match the next thing to go to the next thing.
Mm-hmm.
It is about the story.
Mm-hmm.
Tell the story make sense.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
It's very entertaining. I don't know, did that make any sense?
I think it makes sense. I think because I think talent is, if you work, I think most people who work hard at something can achieve a certain amount of talent in that area. But
Mm-hmm.
kind of what gives it its distinction is the story, the unique story that they're able to tell
Mm-hmm.
with that talent.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like I've heard people who are really technically skilled, and if they're not really
If
hitting it,
there's
yeah,
it bore the crap out you and be like, get out of here. I don't even want to hear that. Like,
yeah,
just I don't care how well you can mix it, like, because the songs you played, they're like nothing. And I mean, you're not telling the story.
yeah,
Tell a story. That's what a true, really good DJ is, telling a story.
yeah.
Um, the story that I did opportunity to play Rave the Vote
Hmm.
Monday,
Yeah.
and kind of to allow me to make the statement that I'm saying about telling the story and about playing all different genres of music and who did it was Shigeto.
Hmm.
Oh my God, he just
Yeah.
wore me out. It was just fantastic. He told a story
Yeah.
and he was playing records, and I mean, he went there,
Yeah.
and I've always loved him. That's not it, but I mean, the fact that I had a chance to experience the whole hour, and the
Hmm.
fact that we were talking about Ready to Vote, and he literally played all those genres that I was speaking about. But what he
Yeah.
did, he did them well. He made it
Yeah.
make sense. I mean, he technoed me out too, and it was right on time because I was about ready to be, but it was perfect timing. The way that for that to happen. And Lord knows he was hip hop. He was talking. He had the spoken word up in there, all that. But it was just
Yeah.
very, very well done.
Love it.
hmm So, anyone that's choosing to be a DJ or something like that, you just study, and it
Yeah.
forces you to study a lot of stuff. It's important to be well aware uh, of the world.
Hmm.
Things that are going on currently. If
Hmm.
you're blessed enough to bring a little history in there and stuff like that. So yeah, you have to be smart. That DJ that studies their craft and studies the world
Hmm.
are the ones that are the best at shine out. And I think that's why he shines so well.
Perfect.
And he's a drummer. Don't help that he's a drummer, but still,
I was
So
gonna
it has
say
been
he just got rhythm.
yeah,
Yeah.
he has rhythm. So right. So that allows him to tell a story and to make it make sense. It's just not all of a sudden crashing this craziness inside of something that meant nothing and like you know,
Yeah.
what am I doing? Yeah.
Gotcha. Cool. Well, I think we're about to close here. Um, I'm trying to think of any last questions I might have. No, I think I just want to give a thanks to people at MWM and then also the Berlin Music Commission for having us do this talk. I think anytime I talk to you, Stacey, I learn something. So I just want to say thank you, most importantly,
It's been an
for
honor and a
that.
pleasure. Oh, you see this date behind me where it says I just forget it.
Oh, yeah.
That's techno dot
Mhm.
techno/club.net. I have a club gig. It's a virtual club gig. That's where it's at, techno-club.net. And I'm on this Saturday in the Orange Room. Tony Humphreys plays on Friday. I play on Saturday, but I'm there every other Saturday and stuff like
Okay,
that. So yeah,
cool. I think they're going to transition us out now. All right. Thank you, Stacey.
thank you.
And thank you very much. So I, of course, want to also take the time out to thank you both for basically spitting hot facts, making hot tracks on Hotwaxx. So thank you very much for taking part and sharing. And of course, for the people out there, all these videos will be available again for replay. And of course, the links to the artist. So definitely get in there and check out her music too. Thank you, ladies.